All right, everyone, welcome back to X America News. We're hosting a very, very special event here tonight on behalf of our Colorado Republicans. It's going to be quite a night. Make sure you hit that share button right now, especially if you have friends, you have fellow conservatives, Republicans living in the state of Colorado who want to see who is running for Colorado State GOP chair. There's been a lot of media over the Colorado State GOP chair the last couple of years. Dave Williams has served in this capacity for the last 2 years, and it has not been without a lot of trauma and stress and drama. Obviously, making national news when he supported President Trump to be on the ballot in Colorado, and so many other events have followed since then. It's been a pretty pivotal last 2 years. And now that Dave is going to be stepping away and a new chair is going to be elected in just a couple of short days, we're hosting the last debate that I'm aware of anyway, the last debate with nearly all of our candidates here tonight on X America News to put their faces forward and give their best ideas to you, Colorado Republican voters who are going to be voting for the next Colorado State GOP chair. I am your host, Sharona Bishop with America's Mom here on X America News. And I want to take a minute to introduce you to our moderator tonight because she is fantastic. If you've been in Colorado for any amount of time, you have heard the name Kim Monson. She has been in the world of politics for a very long time, hosting the Kim Monson Show. I still remember the first time I heard the Kim Monson Show back in 2019. And I actually think I met you just a little bit before that, Kim, because you were obviously very committed to training up new people and helping people understand the political process. So thank you so much for being here tonight. You are going to be moderating the Colorado GOP chair debate tonight. Thank you so much.
Well, Sharona, thank you. And I remember when I first met you as well, and I was just blown away. So thank you for asking me to do this evening. I'm very excited about it.
Well, I think one of the things we all can agree on, Kim Monson is extremely fair and very equitable. You're going to do a great job tonight, I know. And again, with these six, 6 candidates that are joining us tonight, it's pretty awesome. We have a great field, actually, of choices. There's real options in this election, and I'm very excited. So I'm going to actually turn the time over to you. I'm going to be moderating from the back end, making sure we get everything done. And again, everyone who's watching tonight, this is very, very important. Colorado has been the tip of the spear on so many fronts in the country, not just in Colorado. But I was reminded, sorry, one quick thing before we do that. President Trump issued a statement, I believe it was yesterday, saying he does not like his picture that is hanging at the Colorado legislature. So, Kim, we didn't add this question, but maybe we can add this question. Would the next GOP chair care to help us change out that picture and hire a new artist to put up President Trump, a better picture of him? It doesn't even look like him, first of all.
I think that's a great question. And it's really these nuances that we've seen from the radical activist left. And of course, Trump has been able to get on that. So that's really great.
He has. And he did have some words today that I think will set the tone for our debate. I want to share this with all of you tonight.
And it's so easy to do it. And we should go to paper ballots. We should go to one-day voting. We should go to voter ID. And just one other thing, proof of a thing called citizenship in the United States. Wouldn't that be nice? How simple does that sound? Proof of citizenship, voter ID, one-day voting, and paper ballots. You know, paper ballots are very secure. They have watermark paper. It's very intricate stuff. It's very technologically advanced, even though it's paper. And you'd have no trouble. You wouldn't have dishonest elections, and you'd have them all done by 10 o'clock in the evening. You know, France went to that, and not that I want to copy anybody, but many others have also. And they had 38 million votes, and it was all done at 10 o'clock. They had a winner, they had a loser. That was it. Nobody was complaining. And they had it backed up with paper. And it's so easy to do. The other thing, you'd save about, this would cost you about 8% of what the machines cost. So the paper would be much less expensive. So if you're looking to save some money, that's a good way to save it. So it's a shame that we've gone through it. We've gone through a bad election, a really bad election. The election was so bad. And think of it. You wouldn't have had the October 7th disaster with it.
All right. On that note, because it definitely sets the tone for the elections in Colorado, that's what we want to see is more Republicans winning. And of course, there's the governor race coming up. Kim Monson, I'm going to turn this over to you to host the Colorado GOP chair debate.
Well, Sharona, thank you so much, and would encourage people to watch or listen to the show, the Kim Monson Show, 6 to 8 a.m., Monday through Friday on all KLZ 560 platforms. That's KLZ 560 AM, KLZ 100.7 FM, the KLZ website, the KLZ app, as well as you can listen to it on Alexa. And then once we post the show, it's on all the streaming services as well. And we search for truth and clarity by looking at these issues through the lens of freedom versus force versus freedom. If something's a good idea, you should not have to force people to do it. And we see all kinds of force here in Colorado with the radical activist extremists that have taken over the Democrat Party. This is no longer the Democrat Party of your grandparents or JFK. It has become controlled by radical extremists. So that's why this race for the Colorado State GOP chair is so important, and very excited to bring our candidates on. So I think we're ready for that, Sharona. Okay, and we'll start with opening remarks. We have Richard Holtorf on the screen with us. Richard, opening remarks. Why are you running for Colorado State GOP chair? You've got 1.5 minutes.
Well, thank you for inviting me to American Moms in this debate. We are at a nexus in Colorado with the Republican Party. The ship has been sinking, taking water, and if we don't have the right leadership at the right time to turn this party around, Colorado will continue to descend into a level of political irrelevance. We're in the minority, super minority status. Last General Assembly, this General Assembly, we've eked back into the minority status. We're in a blue state, Colorado. Moms, Colorado moms got to understand, or American moms, we're in a blue state controlled by blue radical, leftist, Marxist Democrats, a governor that's very far left of center. And the Democrat Party, as Kim mentioned, is co-opted and is driving Colorado into the ground. And Colorado Republicans need a leader that can unify our party, that can build bridges and not burn bridges, and that can bring us together so we can win more statewide seats and win more seats in the state house and the state senate. If we don't do that, which is our primary mission, we are wasting our time. That is the most important thing we will do, because if we cannot stop the radical Democrat train that's running right off of the California coast, because Colorado is more radical than California now, we will continue to lose, and we're going to lose big. So we've got to turn this around. I'm the leader to do it. I'm asking for support. I'm asking for the vote. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Richard Holtorf. Our next candidate is, let's see, it is Jeremy Goodall. Jeremy, I just talked to you this morning on the show. Jeremy Goodall, welcome to the show, or welcome to the forum here. Sorry about that.
Oh, hey. No. Thank you for having us, and thanks for putting this on. I know how I do a lot of video production myself, so I know the effort that goes into coordinating all of this kind of stuff. I got into this race for one reason, pretty much one reason only. I saw that the candidates that were running were bending the knee and veering away from, I believe, the only issue that matters at this moment, and that is the opt-out. The opt-out vote, which is how we are going to get the Colorado Republican Party out from under Democrat control, because we are now we are in a situation known as organizational capture. Our candidates are selected through a process where the Democrats have made it so that non-Republicans are voting. Non-Republican and Democrat money is being thrown around in our primaries, and the whole thing's being overseen by a Democrat Secretary of State who is collecting our ballots, issuing our ballots, and then telling us what the counts are. This is not a Republican process. And so what we need to do to hopefully get the party to come together and actually move forward is, unfortunately, if we're going to make America great again, we need to start by making the Colorado Republican Party Republican again.
Thank you, Jeremy Goodall. Appreciate it very much. Okay, our next candidate is Lori Sane. Lori, your opening remarks, and thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Kim. So I'm running to return the Republican Party back to Republicans, and those two mechanisms right now are closing the primary and funding the lawsuit. I've been endorsed by Kevin Lungberg, the chair of that committee, and also the opt-out. We do not need to water down our principles to attract people to our party. In fact, we need to lean in on our principles to bring people back to our party. So I'm committed to doing that. I've also signed a pledge on day one that we're going to run this organization in a more professional manner. And we're going to do things like sign political conflicts of interest to make sure that if we are running in these positions, say as chair, I'm not running for anything else. I am dedicated to you, to serving you, and getting this party back on track. Thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you, Lori Sane. And our next candidate is Britta Horn. Britta, your opening remarks, please.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Britta Horn, and I'm here to be your next GOP chair. I'm a ranch wife, a fire chief, and I also worked for President Trump in 2020 down in New Mexico. And there's three things that are really important to the job of being the chair. It's to elect more Republicans, grow the party, and get massive amounts of fundraising and monies to make sure that we can elect more Republicans and grow the party. We have seen in the last 2 years, over 18 seats were open, unopposed, and Democrats won all those seats. That was House seats, Senate seats, a Board of Education seat, and a whole bunch of DA seats. We need to change that. And also, people that are Republicans were being turned away from their own party, their own county party, because of certain tests. And a lot of checkbooks in Colorado were shut down and money was sent outside the state because we didn't get any fundraising here locally because they weren't supporting the state party. So with all those three things, and me on day one promised to do an audit, an independent audit to find out what's going on with our financials at the state level so we can get our transparency back and trust. So I'm asking for your vote as the next GOP chair. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Britta Horn. Appreciate that. Let's see. Our next candidate is Mark Morris. Mark, your opening remarks.
Good to see you. I think the last time I saw you was at Perspectives 101 up in Loveland. So thank you so much. And thank you to Sharona. I don't disagree with anything that's been said so far, but I want to really zero in on what the real problem has been. We have had a Republican Party in shambles. We have leadership that will be leaving soon that has managed to split the party and make it more fractured than ever before. I've been very frustrated and disappointed for years, frankly. And so what I'm after is a flat out clean sweep. We've got to have everyone out of the way who's been associated at all with the outgoing leadership. And I want to bring in all new people. And we're going to launch a business-like approach to a party that has two things to do: get a candidate selected and raise money. And that's got to be done in the most efficient and professional and streamlined way. And I believe my background in business and in the government and as a pastor for years, that I have the qualities that don't carry any baggage in like I feel all of the rest of the candidates do. I'm offering a completely fresh, clean, new blood approach. And that's what I think we need.
Thank you, Pastor Mark Morris. And our last candidate today is Kevin McCarney. Kevin, thank you. And what are your opening remarks?
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Kim, and thank you for doing this. Thank you to Sharona for putting this on. I'm probably the only guy in this whole race that's done the things that need to be done. I was chairman at Mesa County. I was chairman for the Trump campaign in 2016. I got elected in Mesa County because I wanted a Trump person in charge in Mesa County. My 4 years, we raised over $325,000 just in Mesa County. We flipped our school board. We are trying to make changes into our city elections. But we have got, as Republicans, we have got to get together and stop the whole name calling, the whole horrible thing. You know, we're going to talk about closed primaries. 40% of those people that are unaffiliated are lean Republican, and we're going to chop them off. And then we're going to lose those voters, because how do you take, I'm in sales, how do I tell someone, oh, I'm sorry, you can't have that car right now, and then turn around 5 months later and say, hey, I want you to take that car now? That's an impossibility. We have got to get more people involved in the party. That means fundraising, 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 and we got to open up and realize if we're going to change the primary, we have to change the electorate. And that's what we have to do. And we have to have leaders to do that. And I'm that type of leader.
Thank you, Kevin McCarney. Greatly appreciate it. At this point, I would like to say thank you to all of these candidates and their families for stepping forward. This is a real commitment to make this happen, and greatly appreciate each and every one of you. The next question begins, we'll go to Jeremy Goodall, and it is our first question. So Jeremy, unity is a big issue on the hearts of Coloradans. How are you as state party chair going to address the 80-20 rule of Reagan regarding your fellow Republicans, where if we agree 80% of the time, then we should support each other? Jeremy, your thoughts. And you have 1 minute.
Well, I know that being in El Paso County, I've been at the epicenter and had front row seats for pretty much every major controversy that's gone through. I know how bad it's gotten. And as far as the rest of the state is concerned, you guys have been yelling at each other. We actually, in El Paso County, had to file criminal charges because women were assaulted in our meetings. It's gotten very ugly and contentious. But in El Paso County, we've applied discipline, we've applied and gotten together and actually rebalanced things in this last meeting. And I believe we've actually gotten past those issues. And so I think that's, I can say that it gets better because we've made it through.
Okay.
As far
Thank
as
you.
unity goes,
Yep.
I
Thank you,
think
Jeremy. Appreciate that. Okay, Lori Sane, unity is a big issue. How would you address Reagan's 80-20 rule?
You're
Whoops, unmuted.
I'll try that again.
Okay, here we go.
So as I said before, if you're running to be the chair of the Republican Party, you're running to be the chair of the Republican Party. And so there are lots and lots of different scorecards out there, cut being one of them, by the way. So I was 100% cut 5 years. There's also RMGO, there's many others. But if you're running to be a chair of the party, you need to support candidates and get more Republican candidates elected. So I think that answers the question fully, but at the same time, I have been the House Caucus chair. I was actually elected twice in that position, which you don't see that very often, but that's because I helped Republicans get reelected. So I have the experience to do that, and I will continue doing that.
Thank you, Lori Sane. Okay, Britta Horn, how would you bring unity to the Colorado Republicans and regarding Reagan's 80-20 rule?
Well, absolutely, Kim. We have to do the 80-20 rule. And we're already finding that out when people have found out across the state that there were 18 open seats last year, that groups that are independent and right-leaning independent are willing to go become Republicans and be a part of the process to get those seats filled. So it's a lot of 2A groups, a veteran group. We even have a medical freedom mom and dad group that really want to change what's going on in the Capitol. And I actually have another group, and the Hispanics. So we have a new group of Hispanics that want to come in and to make those changes. So we're going to have to do that 80-20 rule, because what works in Weld as a candidate is going to be different in Summit. And what works in Moffett is going to be definitely different in Park County. So we definitely have to find where we can find candidates to win, so we don't have to have these times that are going on both locally and at the Capitol and fighting for all our rights.
Thank you, Britta Horn. Okay, Mark Morris, unity, and how would you address this 80-20 rule, Reagan's 80-20 rule?
I love this question, Kim. I was converted to conservative thought by William F. Buckley Jr. and lured into the Republican Party by Ronald Reagan. I grew up in California. And, right now, 60-40 would look pretty good. 80-20, that's a noble goal. There's a lot of work and a lot of effort that's going to be required to get close to 80-20, where we are now. We're fractured as can be. I want to focus on bringing two disparate parties together. That's the faith community and what I would call the secular conservative community, that often don't get along. And we need somebody that can bridge that gap. I have great contacts on both sides, and I'm here actually in the race because I got phone calls by people from both of those groups asking me to run because they felt a lack of enthusiasm for those who had committed to run at that point.
Thank you, Pastor Mark Morris. I appreciate that. Okay, and Kevin McCarney, your thoughts on unity and Reagan's 80-20 rule?
Well, I'm a huge Ronald Reagan fan, have been all my life. He drove me solidly into Republicans. We have got to let our party, let anybody that wants to run as a Republican run. We can't play the game of, oh, no, you're not a good Republican. Oh, no, you're not. That leads to failure. And that's what has happened in so many races. And that's why we're behind the 8 ball now. We have got to be trustworthy and we need to trust our voters. And that's what I think the problem is, oh, we're not going to trust that 900,000 people. We're only going to trust 2,000. And that's going to be a real problem for us. So I believe the way we get unity is to put as many candidates out there as we can, because those voices count and we need to hear those voices.
Thank you, Kevin McCarney. Okay, and Richard Holtorf, your thoughts about unity and Reagan's 80-20 rule?
Well, we know that we have to build unity in the Republican Party in Colorado. We have many factions on both sides. I've talked about this. We have the far hard right Republican. We have the centrist and center Republican. And in order to win in Colorado, we have to start out with breaking bread, and we have to meet with these different factions. And the leaders of these factions, we know who they are. And we have to say, we have to find out that we have more in common than we have separate. And then we have to try to build bridges. Instead of burn bridges, we have to try to work towards, and this is going to take a lot of work, towards unifying all these factions for common goals, to defeat the progressive left Democrats, not to try to pass a purity test and make Republicans more Republican, or alienate and sort out and remove all the centrists. That's a problem. And that's one of the fights that we've been having over the last 2 years. We've got to work on this. And I have the experience as the whip to do that, leading the Mighty 19 last session.
Okay, thank you, Richard Holtorf. Great. Okay, our next question, and this will go to Lori Sain first. Since this will be the most important election happening during your term, how are you going to support candidates running for governor, and what will you do differently than in past years, Lori Sain?
Yes, thank you so much for the question. One of the things I've noticed in the state party since I've been exposed to it is we've never done the basics well, right? A lot of businesses fail because they cut corners and don't do the basics. The basics are filling every PCP slot that we can, starting from the ground up. And then also putting together things with our district captains and with our county chairs where we can learn from each other's successes. And then also lifting up great leaders who are really good, doing good at certain things, like, for example, getting people to door knock. That sometimes is very difficult for people to do. I even struggled with some candidates who didn't want to knock doors. But basically, basic block and tackling also includes fundraising. We're going to have to do some fundraising from the grassroots. And that means that we're going to have to make multiple contacts for folks before they're willing to give to the party. And we have to be consistent in our messaging, supporting Donald J. Trump and his agenda, and supporting our candidates at every level. So we only got 90 seconds, so I'll leave it from there.
Okay, thank you. And actually, it's 60 seconds, so thank you very much.
Okay.
Britta Horn, this is going to be the one of the most important elections during your term, which is the governor's race. How will you support the candidates for governor, and what will you do differently from previous years?
I think, like I said earlier, we're going to have to grow the party. And the way to grow the party is I'm looking forward to having different, what do you want to call it, regional areas of the state and have offices there and be able to provide professional field directors in those areas. Because we have to learn and do the work at hand. This is a business, and there's business tactics that need to be done and strategies. And we need to be able to get those done. And real basics of, I'm going to even go like, so as far as in the fire service, it's almost like a boot camp. It's like learning the job, learning how to do things before you go do them live and in person on a 911 call. We definitely need to do training, do a boot boot camp, teach everybody how to become PCPs, how to do the district seats. And also as chairs, we saw last year and 2 years ago, there was a lot of new chairs and they just didn't know what the job was or what the job entailed. I've been calling a lot of the chairs already to looking for and talking about their support and asking them what they want to work on in their county. Do they want to get out the vote? They want young Republicans to come by? Do they want to do a voter registration drive? What do they want to do? And let's do what's important to them.
Okay, thank you, Britta Horn. Okay, Mark Morris. What would you do to support the candidates running for governor, and what would you do differently from previous years?
Well, one thing for sure is we're not going to pick winners and losers, and there will not be any primary endorsements if I'm elected. As soon as we know who our candidate is for governor, with cooperation with them that will lay the groundwork for a little bit ahead of time, we've got to come together and link teams with their strategy and a party strategy that's about getting out the message, using the latest technology to do that, going after the Hispanic vote and going after the 18 to 26 vote. Those two things are vitally important, and I have a plan for both of those. The money part of things is going to shape up very quickly once major donors know that we've got our act together again, both the RNC and many major donors up and down the Front Range. Okay. And I know I can do that.
Thank you, Pastor Mark Morris. Greatly appreciate it. Okay, Kevin McCarney. What would you do to support the candidates running for governor, and what would you do differently from previous years?
Well, the great news is we have an opportunity in 2026 that the Democrats are going out of their way to present to us. They've already declared that women's sports are not protected. They've already declared that our ranchers, it's too bad, we're going to raise chicken prices and we're going to raise the egg prices and everything like that. And they're putting tremendous strain on Republicans the way they can live. And that gives us an inroad right into that election. I think that if we develop the Reagan coalition, Hispanics, young men that gave him the country, that we can win in Colorado in 2026. And I am absolutely confident about that. What I would do differently, I would turn that office in Denver into a fundraising machine. We would sell t-shirts, we sell hats. That's what I did in Mesa County. That's where we got $375,000 was, here you go. If you want a hat, if you want a t-shirt, whatever you want, I'm going to sell it to you. I'll take the profit.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin McCarney. Okay, Richard Holtorf. How would you support the candidates running for governor, and what would you do differently from previous years?
You're muted, Richard.
If we don't have a message that resonates across Colorado, we don't win statewide races. Let's be honest, 50 to 55% of the electorate are unaffiliated. Who is targeting a message and a platform that reaches to them across Colorado? Also, there are soft Democrats of the 28% plus Democrats that would vote Republican if the message was right. Now, the Republicans generally will vote Republican, except for 25% that don't show up, which we've got to capture. We haven't had a good get out the vote and ballot harvesting or ballot gathering program yet. We're going to use AI to incorporate into a regional strategy that builds this message. And I'm going to help pass that to the candidates and says, this is a message and a platform that can win. And then we have to take that across the state. Anything else, you can throw all the money at it. Kamala Harris had all the money in the world. She's not the president. So we need to think about it from a messaging standpoint. I think I'm out of time.
Yeah, you are. Okay. Thank you for watching your time on that. Okay, Jeremy Goodall, how would you support the candidates running for governor, and what would you do differently from previous years?
Well, I think you kind of hit on it in the first question when you asked that 80-20 poll. I think there are several issues. I know I'm on a founding board member of Protect Kids Colorado, and we actually pushed forward initiatives with a full volunteer effort, stood the whole thing up on basically 10% of the budget we were expecting, and which was actually half of what we were promised. So a very small budget. We achieved more than half of what we needed to get onto the ballot in only 3 months, which is what the Democrats collapsed us to. These types of issues to protect our children, to push back on the woke agenda, and to actually get children protected. These are 80-20 issues. 80% of the population agrees with us. And if we run on those types of issues statewide, we're going to bring people together. Our group established a coalition that was just mind-boggling. You had sports groups, you had the Catholic Church, and you had Gays Against Groomers. All of us working together to protect kids.
Thank you, Jeremy Goodall. Okay, we're on our third question, and this will go to Britta Horn first, and 2 parts. What is your position on open primaries, and will you as chairman actively support and fund the lawsuit to challenge the open primary in Colorado? And I wanted to let you know that first question came in from Rob. The second question was anonymous, and this came in from Adam. So Adam, thank you for that question. Britta, with that, did you get it, or should I give it to you again?
You did. You gave it to. It's fine. Thank you very much, Kim. We've talked about it on your show, so a couple of times, and so I'm definitely feel that Prop 108, when it got passed in 2016, is definitely unconstitutional. I'm against it. I gave money to the Claremont Institute to make sure that we have that lawsuit, and it's got to go through. It still has to go through some lawsuits right now locally. It's going to go to the state Supreme Court. It's going to probably go to the U.S. Supreme Court. So we would definitely need to keep doing that, because I don't believe it's the right direction for our state. And so doing that and getting it voted down and it considered unconstitutional will bring us back to 2015. So of course we would have it as the party be a part of that funding and making sure that it gets done with the money that we get.
Thank you, Britta Horn. Okay, Mark Morris, the question, your position on open primaries, and would you as chairman actively support and fund the lawsuit to challenge the open primary in Colorado?
Yes, absolutely. And that's made clear on my website. A nation without borders isn't a country. And a party that lets anybody in to help choose candidates is not a party. We've got to have Republicans choosing Republicans. And once we've got the best that we have to offer, then we work hard to help them get elected. It's no more difficult or complex than that. We've got to close the primaries. And as far as opt-out goes, well, I think that comes hand in hand with closing primaries, but we're going to wait a long time for resolution on that aspect of things. But I am definitely for opt-out. And frankly, I'm for it as a philosophy all the way down to the individual county level.
Okay, thank you.
How to help them with the funding for that too.
Okay, thank you, Mark Morris. Okay, Kevin McCarney, what is your position on open primaries? Will you as chairman actively support and fund the lawsuit to challenge the open primary in Colorado?
I have actively supported that lawsuit all along. However, the change has to happen at the legislature. We can't walk away because we're talking about 4 to 5 million people involved in a primary that we would have to pay for individually. Where is that money going to come from? I'll challenge anybody here to tell me how you're going to get $5 million into our account just to run a primary. And if that's where our money is, we don't have any money for candidates. So the problem is everybody's like, yeah, close it, close it. 40% of those people that are unaffiliated lean our way. And like I said, I'm a salesman. If I go into an office and say, hey, I would love to have your vote, but you have to wait until I can collect it 5 months from now, people are going to laugh me out of the room. And that's what's going to happen to us if we're precipitous and don't do the legal issues we have to do and control the primary by controlling the legislature.
Thank you, Kevin McCarney. Okay, Richard Holtorf, your position on open primaries, and would you actively support and fund the lawsuit to challenge the open primary in Colorado?
So for those of you listening and you other candidates, I'd like to highlight something. When you do lawsuits, lawyers win, and there's a winner and a loser. Okay, right now, If you look at the state of Colorado and the state Supreme Court, how many Democrat appointed Supreme Court justices do we have? How about all of them?
Yep.
We're not going to gain favor through the legal system. And if we don't get control of the House and the Senate and the governorship, we don't get to change the law. So let's take and focus on winning races and getting a majority in one or both chambers, or trying to win a statewide seat. So let's start with that. With respect to opt-out, the cost is unsurmountable. The last 2 years, the state party raised less than $500,000. In 6 months in my primary election for CD4, I raised almost $200,000. If the state party can't raise $500,000 in 2 years, and this Eastern Colorado cattle rancher can raise $200,000, and I know how much it costs to run a race, we need the money for candidates, not for lawsuits, Kim. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard Holtorf. Jeremy Goodall, your position on open primaries, and would you actively support and fund the lawsuit to challenge the open primary in Colorado?
So I actually voted yes to fund the lawsuit and to move it forward and support it both times that it's come up as a bonus member and a member of the SCC. I'm on record. I like the lawsuit. I think it's a constitutional issue that needs to be addressed and needs to go. However, we've had 4 years of basically zero movement, and waiting on the co-opted Democrat-controlled court system to grant us our freedom is a recipe for disappointment. I believe we have to take action on our own. We have to surmount the challenges by opting out of Democrat control.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy Goodall. And Lori Sane, what is your position on open primaries, and would you as chairman actively support and fund the lawsuit to challenge the open primary in Colorado?
Well, as mentioned before, I'm endorsed by Kevin Lundberg, who is the chair of the Close the Primary lawsuit. So I was there since the beginning, also personally helped fund that. I will continue doing that as chair. It's important for many reasons. It is different from the opt-out, and we would vigorously pursue that. But I will say I'm also for the opt-out option as well. And the fear mongering around that, quite honestly, can be dispelled just by talking it through and having a plan to do it. So with that, I'm bullish on both. We just need to keep working on it.
Okay, thank you, Lori Sane. Okay, you all have done so well. We're a little over halfway through. So we're going to do is at the 7th inning stretch, I think that it is. So we've got 3 Colorado questions. And if you can put your answers over in the chat, does everybody feel comfortable doing that? Okay, first question. Which of the U.S. Supreme Court justices graduated from CU and played professional football? Was it John Marshall, Byron White, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or Levi Woodbury? So all of you put your answer over in the chat. And again, I'll give you the question. Which of the U.S. Supreme Court justices graduated from CU and played professional football? Was it John Marshall, Byron White, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or Levi Woodbury?
Sounds like some people are looking it up.
No cheating. We're not Democrat. Oh, whoops. Did I say that?
Oh, dang, Kim.
Hey,
Okay. Jeremy Goodall says Byron White. Hold on here. Okay. Byron White it is. Congratulations. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, next question. We have 2 more. What is Colorado's state dinosaur? The Tyrannosaurus Rex, the Stegosaurus, the Brontosaurus, or the Allosaurus?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Has everybody put their answers in? It looks like Kevin and okay. Yes, it is Stegosaurus. Congratulations on that. Okay, last question, last fun question. Governor Jared Polis changed his last name to his mother's maiden name in 2000. What was his previous last name? Was it Smith? Was it Reynolds? Was it Trump? Or was it Schutz? Okay. Okay. Again, it looks like Jeremy and Richard got it.
Top of this, man.
Okay.
I got it too. Did you not see it in? Oh, maybe
I didn't see it. Britta, did you have it in there too?
I had Schultz. Yeah. And
Okay.
Schultz.
You are all correct.
I want you to read mine. I want you to read mine, Kim. Come on.
Yes, this is a family show, Richard, a family show. So
Keep it professional.
okay. So we have two more questions and then we will have your closing remarks. And again, I want to say thank you to all of you for joining us tonight. And thank you to Sharona and America's Mom for making this all happen. Okay, next question. And this will go to Mark first. Mark, what are your thoughts about the integrity of Colorado's elections? If you have concerns, what are your plans to address these concerns? And this is from Carol.
I still have concerns. I feel that we've made some great improvement in at least some parts of the state. I'm a Larimer County person, and we have a terrific person up here who I think has gotten a real good tight control. But I'm not so sure that's true everywhere throughout the state. I'm concerned, but I think things are better.
Okay, thank you, Mark Morris. Okay, Kevin McCarney, what are your thoughts about the integrity of Colorado's elections? And if you have concerns, what are your plans to address these concerns?
Well, I'm probably in the only county in Colorado where we recounted elections. When our school board flipped, at that point, someone approached me and said, "Hey, we'd like to recount." I'm like, "How many volunteers do you want?" He goes, "Well, I don't know." And I'm like, "I can get you 500 because that's what we could do." And we recounted elections. I think that's the solution that we failed to do in 2020. We never recounted the 2020 election, and that was the problem. I am very confident in Mesa County that our elections are secure because we're run by Republicans. And that's a difference that some of these counties don't have. I am confident that if we stay on top like we did in this last election, that we have a chance to have a fair election.
Thank you, Kevin McCarney. Okay, Richard Holtorf, your thoughts about the integrity of Colorado's elections. If you have concerns, what are your plans to address these concerns?
So I absolutely have concerns. I think, and I truly believe that it's one U.S. citizen, one ballot, and one vote, and that's it. The most important election, statewide election we're going to have, ladies and gentlemen, is the Secretary of State. We need a Republican in the Secretary of State's office. That candidate is so critical and important. But also we need a message that will get a Republican elected statewide. So ergo, we have to go back to what I said earlier, because that's the pathway forward to win these seats. So we get the right Secretary of State in there, then we can work backwards. Each county has to run their own elections. We have clerks and recorders. Some of them are Republican, some of them are Democrat. But they are beholden and scared of Jenna Griswold because of her authoritative manner and the way she manages that office. So let's get a Republican Secretary of State elected, and then we can start working this thing and walking it back. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard Holtorf. Okay, Jeremy Goodall, what are your thoughts about the integrity of Colorado's elections? If you have concerns, what would you do about it?
So my educational background is actually economics with a specialty in global economic policy. I understand the data, I understand the numbers, and I can tell you there are so many things about these elections that don't add up. The math ain't mathin'. And what we need to do is, like Richard said, we need to get Republicans elected, but we also need to get our Republican county clerks to understand that we will back them up. We're not going to leave them to hanging out to dry like Tina Peters. We have to step into this stuff and actually back up our people that are willing to take a stand on this issue. We're not going to win anything if we let the Democrats control the counting process. It just doesn't happen.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy Goodall. Lori Sain, your thoughts about the integrity of Colorado's elections. If you have concerns, what would you do about it?
So I actually walked for the Election Integrity Project, and there's definitely some irregularities. The chair of the Legislative Audit Committee actually called the first election integrity hearing at the state capitol, and only one thus far. But as far as the close of the primary, that would return us back to 2016, which would mean that the state would still be in charge of our primary election. So I intend to make sure the opt-out functions well, because we would do hand-counted paper ballots, just like Trump was saying earlier. Also, one-day voting, which Trump also endorses. There are counties, there's a county right now that's doing hand-counted ballots, and they say it is difficult, but it is absolutely worth it. And if we do this well, just perhaps we'll keep not only doing the opt-out every 2 years, but we'll also encourage counties to do hand-counted ballots for the rest of our elections as well.
Thank you, Lori Sain. And Britta Horn, what are your thoughts about the integrity of Colorado's elections? If you have concerns, what are your plans to address these concerns?
Well, absolutely, Kim. We have concerns, and we would definitely do exactly what President Trump wants. I definitely like the idea of same-day voting and using IDs. Clean up the dirty voter rolls. I think there's still work to be done on that. That no Dominion voting machines with Wi-Fi. I personally called my county clerk and recorder before the election, and she promised me the new machines would not have Wi-Fi. So let's find out if that's true and make sure that that they're working properly if we're using them, but hopefully not. No more drop boxes, and I totally agree with the ballot, paper ballots. I did it also, was a part of the paper ballot process at the state, both in Pueblo last year and then also 2 years ago when we were up in Fort Collins. And we can definitely do it. I saw the process. I saw how the process worked on a small level and then on a large level. We can get it done.
Okay, thank you, Britta Horn. Okay, at this particular point in time, I will, we've got just a little bit of extra time here before we go to closing comments. And Sharona, is there any other question that you think that we should ask that I have possibly missed? Otherwise, we'll go to closing comments.
Sorry, no, the most anticipated questions I think you asked. I mean, Colorado has specific issues that we all know about, and they've stated their opinions on those. So I think that's great. The only thing I can think of, just in moving forward in closing statements, maybe there has been a lot of commentary on the previous chair, Dave Williams, and I'm not sure that just as a listener, I don't really know that I thought there was much conciseness on what would you do different. What is it specifically that you would do different? So maybe if you guys wanted to encapsulate that just a little bit more in your closing statement, that'd be great. And we are doing great on time. So maybe we can do a 2-minute closing. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's do a 2-minute closing. Does that sound okay with all of you to do a 2-minute closing? Very good. Then again, Sharona, thank you for making all this happen. And again, thank you to each and every one of you and your families for stepping forward and caring about Colorado. So let's see, Kevin McCarney, we will begin with you with your closing remarks, and you have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you candidates for seeing everybody. I would do a lot of things different. I ran against Dave Williams 2 years ago, and I have run for state chair before because we need all of a sudden we have litmus tests all over the place, and we need to get rid of those. We need not to go to someone and say, well, you can't be chair of the state because you don't agree with this or you don't agree with that. That decision needs to be made by the Central Committee. Those decisions for candidates need to be made by the 900,000 people that vote Republican. And the plans that I've seen are removing those voices from our elections. And I don't agree with that. I think that someone wants to run as a Republican, we need to make sure they have the opportunity. I never turned down anybody when I was chairman of Mesa County Republicans here, because I figured the Republican voters in Mesa County would take care of things. And they did. And I trust our Republican voters here in Colorado. And I think that if we run as Coloradans, as we make a campaign up for Coloradans, whatever outfit it is, we're going to win, because our opponents are just doing a great job of screwing it up. And we need to keep doing it. Let them keep doing it, because they're going to help us win elections. We have a big chance in 2026, but we need to be looking forward. We cannot run back to 2020 and stuff like that. I'm the only person here who has run Mesa County, and I know all about Tina, and I am not a fan. And if we try to rescue Tina, we're going to lose every election in this state for the next 10 years, and there's no way around it. So I am in favor of the 900,000 that we need to be supporting, and not the Central Committee.
Okay, thank you, Kevin McCarney. And how can people get more information about you, Kevin McCarney?
They can email me at kmccarney@prodigy.net.
Okay, one more time.
KMCCARNEY@prodigy.net. It is an and cheek. So
Okay, thank you. Richard Holtorf, you've got 2 minutes for your final concluding comments.
Okay, Kim. So you asked the first part of the question is what would be done differently than the previous chair. First of all, we're going to have a bottom-up process, not a top-down process. Pre-primary endorsements are out. It's a failure. And all you do is tell Republican candidates, I'm not going to run because I'm just going to get cut off at the knees if I try, and I'd not kiss the ring, and I'm not worthy of the purity test that's going to be imposed upon me. That needs to go away. We shouldn't be pushing policy first. We should be pushing candidates out front. We need to get candidates elected. It's the primary mission statewide. Also, lawsuits cost a lot of money. We don't have any. So let's figure out a better way to invest our money in winning in Colorado so we can make Republicans win again. Now, I have a 7-point plan. I'm going to hold it up. I know that a lot of people haven't seen this. Go to Holtorf for Colorado, my Facebook. It's on there. You need to look at it. First, it starts by empowering the grassroots. Second, we're going to empower county organizations, and we're going to work with the 64 counties to help them rebuild and refit. Some of them are doing very well. Other ones are doing very poorly, and also have messaging that fits different parts of the state. Let's go to page 2. Empower the voter. We need to have a long-term strategic vision, 2 cycles, 3 cycles out, 1 cycle. We just look right in front of our faces. We never play the long game. We need to change that. I have also a 3 co-vice chair system, 3 territories, Eastern Plains, Western Slope, and Front Range. We're going to have vice chairs for each region, and we're also going to have paid staff to help support those people. We're going to empower with honesty, integrity, and transparency. We haven't seen good financials at a state meeting since when? It doesn't happen. It's not Tracer. It's not go to Tracer and look it up. No, it's what is the state party doing? Where's the money? And finally, we're going to empower and support elected officials. When's the last time the state party actually talked to Paul Lundeen or Rose Puglisi? Dave Williams hasn't done it.
Thank you.
That's going to change. Thank you. And I encourage you to vote for Holtorf.
And how can people get more information about you, Richard Holtorf?
You can go to my Facebook, Holtorf for Colorado. My website has been co-opted, so it's been hijacked, and I'm not going to be able to get a lawyer to unscrew that in the short time of this election. So I've let that go. I found that interesting. But it's okay, because I think Republicans are smart, and they're going to pick the right person for the job. Thank you.
And that Facebook page again, Richard? Holtorf for Colorado, right?
Holtorf, FOR, Colorado.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Jeremy Goodall, your concluding remarks.
Well, I think it's interesting that one of the things that people have walked right past with what Dave Williams actually has done, and I know this because I've been a precinct leader since 2006. I've been involved in all of the state assemblies and all of that. Prior to Dave, no one in the chairmanship gave a rip about resolutions coming up from the floor. It was always top down. You will do this. You will listen to this. And Dave has actually implemented resolutions from the floor and actually moved forward on that. That is something I would continue to do, because listening to the people, part of the reason I'm so strong on the opt-out is in April, we had 95% of the state assembly stood up in support of the opt-out vote. And yeah, Kevin, I see you shaking your head, but let me tell you, they stood as one. And if we want unity, you got to go with the 95, not the 5. I will be the candidate who facilitates the conversations that are going to be tough. They're going to be strong, because we are Republicans. We're not Democrats. We have ideas. We have thoughts. We have plans. We have initiative at the local level. Democrats follow the leader, climb under the umbrella, and seek the safety of the herd. We are not them. We are Republicans. Republicans, not Republicans. I'm Jeremy Goodall, and I ask for your vote.
And Jeremy, how can people get more information about you?
Well, if you're on the Central Committee, I'm sending out emails. This is such a short thing. I didn't bother with a website. My email, the emails are in your inbox. If it's not in your inbox, then it's probably in your spam folder, because Google likes to pick favorites.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy Goodall. Okay. Lori Sane, your concluding remarks.
Yes, thank you so much. So you can go to my website, lorisane.com, LORISAINE, and there is a pledge there I put on day one, which is to pledge to support faithfully President Trump and his agenda to make America great again. And there's some differences, and the candidates who are on my team have also signed this pledge, which we will do a full CPA audit, and we will make available quarterly reports to SEC members so they don't have to fight to get that financial information. We're also going to adopt a primary neutrality rule, for example. And we will also have a Doge committee to review our finances and operations, because volunteers, that is still a resource for the party. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. Also, we will obviously support closing the primary and facilitate the opt-out process. So these are some differences that we would do differently from the last organization, but also a political conflict of interest. I am not going to run for anything else if I'm the chair. I am fully committed to serving you and completing the opt-out or close the primary or both. The candidate can say whatever they want. There's very few things you have to hold them accountable. You can look at the past voting record. I've got an A+ in Principles of Liberty, 100% uncut. I've been the chair for the House Republican Caucus, also chair for the Legislative Audit Committee, and chair for a national organization for conservative local elected officials. I've also taken this pledge. So with that, I'll let it rest, but thank you so much for having me on this debate, and thank you for everyone who joined us tonight.
And thank you, Lori Sane. And again, your website?
lorisane.com.
Okay, and that's SAINE, obviously. Okay. Let's see. Britta Horn, your concluding remarks.
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate it. So again, I am at brittahorn.com, BRITAHORN.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Britta for Colorado. You can find me on Instagram, Britta for Colorado. You can even find me on X at Real Britta Horn, because I had to have a second account because Britta Horn was taken and shut down with Twitter way back in the day when they were shutting us down when we were speaking truth. So I really look forward to everybody's vote. Definitely this is the Central Committee, and I'm going to do it like a business. It's exactly what it is and what hasn't been getting done. We haven't been electing more Republicans. We haven't been growing the party, and we haven't been fundraising like we should. And so using those pieces and getting those pieces done with my history and background in fundraising and in operations and infrastructure and getting things done. When you go to my website, you'll see that it's 100 days, the first 100 days, and what will get done. Not only just get them done and how I'm empowering them, but actually 3 steps each one, how to get it done, the action steps. I think we've all heard it before, action, action, action. And we need to get that job done, and we need to grow the party and get more Republicans elected, excuse me. And then when we know that President Trump is rating up to 80% about things that are important to Americans, about crime, about the economy, about rule of law. certainly our state is 60% of that 80%. And we need to get along, and that's the pieces that are going to be important to us, and making sure that those are things we can have in common and move forward and elect Republicans. I'm Britta Horn, and I look forward to your vote, and I look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Thank you, Britta Horn. And Mark Morris, your concluding comments.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Sharona. It's Mark Morris for chair.com. And, you know, I think I've heard something good from everybody here tonight. What sets me apart is that I'm really truly the dark horse in the race. I'm one that doesn't have any background or baggage. I don't owe anybody anything. I bring a background of life experience, 8 years as a professional musician years ago, traveling, recording, 9 years with federal government, U.S. Forest Service Division of Engineering, 4 years as a police officer in California, 9 years as co-owner of a large engineering firm, and 3 years as president and CEO of a public company in Anaheim, California, in the lighting industry. Concurrent with a lot of that, 25 years as a Christian minister, and I'm now an ordained pastor on staff with the church in Northern Colorado. I'm commissioned full-time by my church to work outside the church with pastors and ministry leaders all over the state of Colorado. And that's what I've been doing now for a number of years. I've developed great relationships as a result of that. And so my goal, my hope, is to be the one who can restore statesmanship to the office, that can return dignity, honor, integrity, and provide a kind of leadership that inspires people to greatness. We'll bring in wonderful people. If I end up being the winner of this, I'd like to know that I could call any one of these people and get advice on any number of topics. But we need new blood. We need a fresh face. And I've got a lot of background running races for the last 25 years in 5 states, worked 3 presidential campaigns, helped get 3 congressmen elected, most recently Gabe Evans.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mark Morris. And Mark, how can people get more information about you?
Mark Morris for chair.com.
Okay. And Britta, I think I glossed over and didn't ask you final, how can people get more information about you?
No, that's no problem. We said it in the beginning. So it's my website, Britta Horn, BRITAHORN.com, Facebook, Britta for Colorado, Instagram, Britta for Colorado, and X at Real Britta Horn.
Okay. Candidates, thank you so much for stepping forward. Sharona's going to jump back in here. This election is this Saturday, and will be certainly a very interesting meeting. Lots of political gyrations many times in these kinds of elections. But I thank each and every one of you for caring about Colorado, for stepping forward. Together, we need to reclaim this beautiful state that we all love. And Sharona, thank you to you and Debbie for putting this together. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And again, to all of the candidates, thank you guys for being on here tonight. It is really important that people get to hear directly from you, not the rumor mill, not some other publication, but directly from you, what you think, what you care about, what you want to see happen with the GOP. And all the connections and links are found under X America News, under this live broadcast. So you can reach out to the candidates, those who are watching tonight, to be able to ask direct questions, or if you were unsure about a response. We are also going to post any additional comments from any of the candidates, because it was a really short amount of time to answer some pretty seriously intense questions that have, again, if you've noticed one theme throughout this whole debate, it's that there is a lot of contention over the ideas on how to reclaim Colorado for Republicans. One thing I think we can all agree on is that Jared Polis is the absolute worst thing, not just for Colorado, but as the head of the Governors Association of America now. He's got to go. And at some point, there's got to be I think that meets the 80-20 rule right there. I think 80% of Republicans agree Jared Polis has to go. And I'm excited that so many of you guys care and to put yourselves out there. You all know what it is like to get punched in the face and when you put your face out like this. So thank you guys, every single one of you, again, for doing this.
I do know what it feels like to get punched in the face, Sharona.
Yes, Richard.
100%.
Literally, you do. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Uh,
See you
thank you. Thank
Saturday.
you. So hang in with me for just a moment, Kim, and I want to talk just a little bit about what we just heard and what has been said here tonight. I did take a few notes. I know one of the biggest concerns, and maybe you can explain or expound a little bit more on this, because when people are talking about the opt-out versus the lawsuit for us to reserve our primaries just for Republicans, there's this conversation tonight about the cost. Do you know a little bit more about that? Can you elaborate on that? Because people may not know what they're talking about. When Kevin McCartney said the closed primaries would be great if you have the money to fund them. Why is it necessary to fund the closed primary?
Prop 108, which I think was 2015, I think was passed by the people of Colorado, which opened up our primaries. And I remember in my voter's guide, I was a strong no on this because it made no sense to me that we would have unaffiliateds that could vote in either the Republican or the Democrat primaries. They get two different ballots. Sharona, when you think about cost, think about how much it costs to mail these ballots out to all these people over Colorado and to all of these unaffiliateds. They can only vote in one or the other primaries. And what's so interesting about that is it didn't include any of the minor parties, the libertarians or any other parties. The only voters that get both ballots are the unaffiliateds. It makes no sense to me. I'm now giving you my personal opinion on it. Tremendous cost on that. So there is a lawsuit that has been filed, and lawsuits are expensive. But losing our state, I think, is even more expensive, Sharona. And that's, again, my personal opinion.
So, but just to be clear on this, because the financial part is a question for people, the state pays for the mailing of the unaffiliated ballots. It's sounding to me like, and I need clarification on this too, I don't understand what is being said about the cost of running the Republicans running their own primary. What is the cost that's generated there? Just the
I don't
printing
know
of
the
the
cost on
ballots?
that either. That's a really good question, and we need to delve into that
Okay.
significantly. But it makes sense that Democrats vote in Democrat parties, Republicans vote in Republican primaries. In Colorado, it's super easy for people to change their affiliation. So if they wanted to if they are unaffiliated, but they have a real desire to vote in either the Democrat or Republican Party, they can change their registration, and would highly recommend that they do that. Now, lawsuits, and tomorrow, Kevin Lundberg will be on my show on KLZ 560, 6 to 8 a.m. It'll rebroadcast tomorrow, 1 to 2 in the afternoon. We're going to delve into these details a bit more regarding the opting out and closing the primary. My understanding is it's two different things. And I'm a little fuzzy still because it's complicated.
It is a little complicated. They are two separate issues. The lawsuit pertains to closing the primaries, and the opt-out is apparently something that our party could generate at any time
Okay,
and not wait for legislative to act. We can do it ourselves. And I think so. One of the things that I've been a supporter of Dave Williams. Since the first time I met him in 2018 and saw just a fighting father who stood by the truth. He did not care which way the wind was blowing. He wasn't taking a temperature test. And from day one, I've respected him. I've shared this story many times when I saw him after the nights long battles to, salvage some kind of hope for babies born in Colorado. And I saw him shortly after that big battle. And so many Republicans, by the way, who were in the House at that time, they fought all night long. And I think Richard Heldoff actually spoke to that when he said he spoke to that also. And they did. They stood and they fought. And I just remember seeing Dave shortly after that, and he looked horrible. In fact, he looked so bad. I mean, I was very, very concerned, honestly, for his health. And that's kind of been his nature, is to go all in and fight with everything he has for what he believes is the correct thing to do and the right thing to do. And I'm not sure, again, like listening to the complaints tonight, I'm like, we've won in seats where we haven't won in a long time. We brought more Republicans into the legislature, and the credit is not given at all to the current GOP. I don't know who gets the credit, but it certainly, there's no acknowledgement of the advancements that have been made under this chair leadership. And I kind of thought that was interesting because I'm sitting here watching all of the victories. There was an audit, a formal audit of all the finances as soon as Dave Williams took office, and I thought that was a really, really good thing. Halldorf is talking about doing the same thing. It has been done. It should be done every cycle, I believe, to keep people accountable. Was there anything that stood out to you that from any of the candidates tonight that you thought that's really great, or that's something that should be questioned a little bit more?
I think that Sharona, that I have been working in the space of election integrity. And in fact, with Coloradans, raised money for 2 lawsuits, and they are expensive, that are out there. One of those is basically saying that Colorado is not meeting the minimum standards as set forth by Congress for our elections. And I think the clip that you ran of President Trump is very, very important. And so I think the fact that we have that lawsuit in place, which was through United Sovereign Americans and their legal team, is super important. I think that'll be helpful as we move forward with what Trump is looking at. And Trump, the founders were very, very thoughtful in how they put our country together. And ideally, they wanted each state to handle our elections. And I think that is important. Centralizing elections, I don't think is a great idea. However, if we have different states that might be doing some funny stuff in federal elections, and that affects the outcomes of our congressmen and senators, that affects all of the other states. So I think Trump has solid ground regarding these federal elections. I'm pleased that we have that particular lawsuit. Our other lawsuit with the Wisconsin Center for Election Justice was filed on November 1st of last year. And we went through under NVRA, the National Voting Rights Act. We were somewhat constrained on time on the different things that we could check. But the Secretary of State said that we had old data. So we ran the data again as of Election Day. And we can prove 14,500 people, again, targeted list, that should not have received elections in Colorado voted. And I think that's really important too. So I have lots of questions about that.
And I do think there were some candidates that clearly understand what is happening with elections. I appreciated, Lori Sane has been at this for a while and has had quite a fight up in Weld County. I've watched her battles a little bit. Some people have said she's not vocal enough on the statewide front. And I guess I would say I've known she's fighting those battles over there in Weld County and just put her head down, and it's been working like so many of the candidates who are running right now. It's kind of challenging when we've kind of gotten used to superstars trying to run for office and trying to run for positions in Colorado, especially. And so I thought that was interesting, an interesting perspective with Lori tonight. She has been developing leadership plans and building bridges over there and helping to do what you've been doing for so long, which is kind of discipling up the next generation. Actually, a couple of candidates spoke about that. Britta Horn spoke about that too, needing like a pipeline of discipling for people who are coming on board, wanting to be a part of the Republican Party, wanting to run. I love all of that. And so it's kind of double talk to me when there's also the tone of, yeah, but everybody needs to be able to run in our party if they say that they're a Republican, and there needs to be no litmus test. I thought afterwards, when you asked about a question, I would ask, do we subscribe to the Republican platform? Should someone who is running as a Republican have to ascribe to the established Republican platform as put forward by the RNC?
I think that's a great litmus test, Sharona. Absolutely.
Wish I'd have asked that.
Yeah, darn it.
Well, you know what? If they're watching, you guys, if the candidates tonight are watching on X still, please drop those comments in there. I just want to go back through all of the candidates who joined us tonight. Jeremy Goodall, an economist, and we had him actually on our Patriot call not too long ago, has been active in politics. Really, all of the candidates have been active on some level in politics and being a part of the conversation. So that's great. So Jeremy Goodall, we have Kevin McCarney out of Mesa County, Richard Holtorf, who actually holds office right now, right? Or was a representative.
He is now the Washington County GOP chair.
Wonderful, former representative. And then, of course, Britta Horn, who, as she's been in the leadership world for a long time, working actively throughout the counties. I've been familiar with her for quite some time. There has been, let's see, Kevin McCartney. Did I miss somebody? Lori Sane, Kevin McCartney, Richard Holdorf, Jeremy Goodall.
Mark
Um,
Morris.
Thank you. Pastor Mark Morris. It's great. I've never heard from him before. Never met him before. It was great to see a fresh face like that. I love the work that he's doing, working with pastors and churches. It's very encouraging. Any thoughts that you had that kind of surprised you about any of the candidates tonight, or things that stood out before we kind of bring this to a close this evening?
I actually try to stay pretty neutral with all this, and every candidate that is running for office, whether or not Democrat, Republican, unaffiliated, always have an open invitation to reach out and be on the show. So I've had most all of them on the show because I think it's important, just as you've done here, Sharona, for people to hear from the candidates themselves. So I will play middle of the road here. I really appreciate each and every one of them stepping forward. I appreciate their families. This election is this Saturday, and really do appreciate it.
Well, so that's right. The election is this Saturday. And for some who are wondering, well, how do they get elected? They will be voted on by the Republican committee. They'll be assembling, I believe it's about 400 people who will vote on the next Colorado State GOP chair. And again, the significance of this, I think, should not be minimized at all. Colorado has been leading the charge, has been a strong voice for President Trump for the America First agenda, fighting against some of the most nefarious actors in the Democrat Party. Jared Polis runs around acting like he's just a little blue shoe wearing libertarian who sports a cowboy hat from time to time. And that is so far from the truth of who this guy is. There is a very aggressive bill actually that's in the House right now that demonstrates just how far left this guy is. It is a radical gun confiscation bill. And Jared Polis is going to have to decide if he's going to continue to pretend to be a libertarian, or if he's going to go ahead and show his true colors and sign off on this horrendous gun grab in the state of Colorado. So no matter what, I'm grateful for each of these people stepping up, bringing attention to Colorado once again. And I just hope that they are firmly prepared for the fight ahead.
It's going to be a battle, Sharona.
Kim, thank you so much. Thank you for being with me tonight and moderating. You did a beautiful job. I can always count on you for fairness and equity in this situation. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sharona.
All right. Wow. What a great night. A great, this is tough. It's a tough job to go and run for any political office whatsoever. And Colorado is extremely contentious. And I would say this, you are very emotional about the things that you really, really care about. And I think there's no doubt that every candidate that's putting their neck on the line for the state GOP chair in some capacity feels deeply for this state and believes that they can be the solution to bring Colorado into the next chapter of really firmly securing the Republican grip on this state and seeing the restoration of this once great Republican state. It's surprising to people when they hear that Colorado is a blue state. Of course, those of us who live here say it's not really. But more and more, these progressive laws, the progressive legislature is stripping not only our parental rights, our gun rights, our property rights. They're taxing people into oblivion, but the gaslighting is like no other. So my thought is this on the next GOP chair. I want to close with these thoughts tonight. The next GOP chair must be able to market their ideas. I will say there was a lot of great intention and great things that were done, but the people needed to understand what was happening. I do think the marketing of ideas is so incredibly important. We win in the Republican Party on our content, on who we are, literally our principles and our values. When Moms for America ran a poll to the furthest leftist Democrats in this country, 6 out of 7 of those very left-leaning Democrats said they do not believe boys should be in girls' bathrooms. Well, here in Colorado, not only do we make sure there's boys and girls bathrooms, but we also make sure that we have the ability to mutilate children. And it had committed Colorado as a sanctuary state. And many of those left-leaning Democrats are no longer supporting trans ideology either, or the mutilation of perfectly healthy adolescent children. So we have just even that alone. The standard is set. And I heard some of the candidates say that tonight. So the person who wins and takes the helm, that messaging marketing strategy is so, so important because the intent was there, the heart is there. A lot of great progress has been made this last 2 years. And I just pray for whoever ends up being in this position as GOP chair that they will have the constitution to be able to hold their ground. A lot of talk about unity tonight, being able to unite the quote establishment Republicans, those who've been in the fight for a long time and have been gotten used to losing, quite frankly. They've gotten used to losing versus the newbies, also called the grassroots. I'm part of that whole movement. And trying to find a commonality to bring these people together. It's going to take a lot of leadership skills and it's going to take a lot of conversation. This is a family for sure, but it has certainly been fractured, yet there's been a lot of gains. And so that next person is just going to have to be very emotionally mature and really see the big picture, the big vision for the next several election cycles, at least for the next 3 to 4 election cycles, and hopefully even a 50-year plan into the future for the state of Colorado. I'm looking forward to freedom once again abounding here. Thank you all so much for being with us tonight. Thank you to Kim Monson. You can catch her on the Kim Monson Show. Go take a listen, find her on all platforms and her amazing radio show. She really is such a gem in Colorado. I appreciate her being here tonight to be the voice of reason and neutrality. Thank you so much, Kim. And to all of those great candidates, again, who are getting in the fight. Thank you all for putting your faces out there and putting it all on the line. It's critically important. We appreciate you. And thank you for being here with us on this very special edition of America's Mom here on X America News. We'll see you back here very soon. Thank you for being with us.